If there is one thing that can be really demotivating and interferes with your running goals, it is getting injured. And today I want to help you guys to decrease the chance of getting injured by following these 5 tips or these 5 rules that I live by to make sure that I'm not getting injured that fast anymore. I do this on a personal note, so I want to help you guys to stay motivated and achieve your running goals. So let's not forget to smile and wave to your fellow runners, and let's dive into it. So the first thing that I would do to not get injured is make sure I have the right training schedule and build it up gradually. I told this in another video as well about the 10% rule, which you can watch over here. I was pointing at it, but there's actually not a video, but a link. And in that video I also explained that you shouldn't build up any faster than 10% in mileage or volume per week, because when you are starting with running or when you are picking up running again, you really have to make sure that your body gets used to the amount of training volume that you can handle, but also that your muscles and your ligaments can carry you, and that takes time. If you are running, the amount of weight and pressure is from 4.5 times to 9 times more than when you just stand or walk. So if you weigh 150 pounds, the amount of weight on your ligaments and on your joints is between roughly 450 and 900 pounds per step. So you have to make sure that your body gets used to this amount of impact, and you do that by building it up gradually and following a good training scheme. So getting enough rest in between runs is one option to do it. Another option is to build in a cycle, let's say every other 4 weeks, that you slow down and take a sort of a rest week and do some cross training in between. The second basic tip that I can give you guys is to buy proper footwear. You don't need as much shoes that I do, but you have to make sure that at least you have one pair that fits you and that serves you well. So especially in the beginning, or if you pick up running, go for a shoe that has a lot of damping. I don't know if damping is a Dutch word or an English word, but otherwise cushioning. Make sure that the shoe is also serving your stride. And I also explained it in this video over here, that you have people that are supinating, that you have neutral runners, and that you have people that are pronating. And basically supinating is walking on the outside of the foot, neutral runners walk on the middle of their foot, and pronating people are walking on the inside of their foot. But this can also cause you a lot of injuries if you don't have the right footwear. Take some of the advice of the people in the store that can give you the right shoes, and that's gonna save you a lot of trouble as well. I made this mistake in the beginning too. I bought shoes based on their appearance. And yeah, that went horribly wrong, because after half a year of running, when I got into territories of, let's say, half a marathon, I got injured and I could stop and start doing other sports because my knees were done. So pay close attention to your footwear. It's really, really important. Number 3, it might not surprise you, but a good warming up and a proper cooling down. I'm gonna show you later on what kind of warming up exercises you can do. But after these exercises, I will go run and start slowly, more slowly than the pace of that specific training. Especially if you're doing sprint training or interval training or more tempo training, it's really important to do some warming up before, and first run 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers or 1 mile for the American people out there or English people on a slower pace, in order to get your muscles warmed up and your body warmed up and ready for the real work. Also on the longer runs, it can be beneficial to do a little bit of a slower kilometer in the beginning and then start your normal pace that you want to do. So what I usually do as a cooling down is some stretching afterwards, and I stop the last kilometer or mile from my run and I walk home in order to get my heart rate down, and I get settled in and do some stretching near my house or in my house. And I'm gonna show you in the next couple of seconds what kind of stretching I would do. So I make sure I can hold on to something, and then I do some leg swings, left and right, do it 3 times. Then I do some leg pulls, also left and right 3 times, 10. And then I'm gonna make some 8s, some circles of 8 on the floor, touching my left and right shoe alternatively. And as I'm cooling down, I'm doing a static stretch. So first my calves and my hamstrings, and then I stretch my
squats.
And another bonus tip I can throw in there in order to help you, especially if you get a little bit older, is mobility training or mobility work. I usually do that separated from my running trainings. I try to do that, let's say, 2 or 3 times per week in the evening. It only takes between 20 minutes and 40 minutes. And I got used to this because I used to do CrossFit before. And there you had a thing that's called ROMWOT, and it's basically a mobility training in the form of yoga. It's breathing work and static stretching, and that really helped me to become more mobile because I have really tight hips and the squats for me, for example, were really hard to do. So it really helped me to loosen up my hips and also benefit with running from it. And my hamstrings are also pretty tight, so doing some mobility and some stretching workouts in the evening really helps me to get to become a better runner, and also help me with my strength training, which is the next point that I'm going into, and that is strength training to prevent injuries. And I'm also really curious what kind of strength trainings you guys are doing, or if you are doing any strength trainings at all. But yeah, to prevent injuries, strength training can also be really beneficial because you simply can strengthen up the muscles around your joints and your ligaments, and that's where it usually goes wrong. And when I had an injury in the past with my knee, I also benefited a lot from making the muscles around my knee stronger in order to pick up again. And the way I did that was by doing cross training and other sports. So without having too much impact on my knee, I was doing, for example, spinning and cycling and inline skating. So I did the cardio that I usually did in the right amount as I did with running, but I was in the meanwhile strengthening my knee with and doing, for example, squats and lunges to make my knee stronger. And after half a year or something, I picked up on running gradually again. And it was fixed, and I could run farther than the initial half marathon that I was used to do. So that helped me. Nowadays I'm doing strength training in the form of with weights and without, but I try to have it complement to my running. So basic strength and exercise, or the muscle groups that I want to target with my strength training when it comes to running, is, for example, squats. Sometimes without weights and sometimes with weights. I try to do lunges that really help me with weight and without weight. I'm doing calf raises, do that in the form of jump roping, for example, or standing on the curb and just standing up on my toes. And I do a lot of core exercises, because if you ever had a back injury or a bruised rib, for example, then you start realizing how much movements you do from your core. Pretty much everything in your whole body is connected to your core. And if your core is strong enough, you will also recognize that the injuries in the bottom part of your body or the upper part of your body is also going down, because every single movement starts from your core. Let me know in the comments down below, what kind of exercises do you do that complement your running and make sure that you have less injuries. And number 5, pay attention to your body and listen carefully to your body. And I can't stress this enough. And I also ignored it a lot of times in the past. But looking back on these things, I realized that there were tells and signs way before the injury actually happened. But the only advice that I can give, if you're doubting or if you have doubts about your pain or you feel something, please search for professional help first before you start Googling. Because this can go wrong in many ways. But where do you have to pay attention to if you are running? First of all, you shouldn't be ignoring the small tells, like something starts tingling or something starts itching. What I had in the past was with my knee. It took me out for half a year, but it started with an itch in my knee and it got worse over time. And there are many things in the body where you can have pains or things go wrong. Don't ignore them. And if they get worse over time, then really trim down your training, cut down in the volume, take rest. And what else you can do if you start feeling pain on certain areas, you can also try to do some cross training. If you want to keep busy in the meanwhile, make sure that you're doing exercises where you are not putting that much stress on the same muscle groups as you are with running. So go, for example, cycling, but try if that helps and if that takes the pain away, and then leave it for a little while. Listen to your body when it comes to overtraining, because that also can cause injuries over the long period. And overtraining you can recognize when you are starting to get more fatigue, also get more tired during the day and after your training and the day after your training. And if your training is going backwards instead of forward, so if you're not getting any faster anymore, or you are too tired to run your long distances, that can be really good tells of overtraining. So, and overtraining can lead to injuries. But that's a really important thing to look out for when it comes to listening to your body and make sure you're not overtraining and don't get injured. Another benefit that you can have by listening to your body very carefully is that you can experience a runner's high. And if you want to experience a runner's high, or you want to know how to experience a runner's high or increase the chance to get one, then start watching this video right here. And for now, I want to thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.